They have a good uniform, sunglasses, mask. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's up? We're just about at 3,000 subscribers, so we're answering some questions from our loving listeners, our watchers.
The loyal proletariat.
Okay, Batco
Loving
says,
proletariat.
will
More
you
than
assist
comrades.
the anarcho-syndicalists of Australia against the fascist forces of the Emu warlords?
It's a lost cause, so no. Australia's doomed. Australia is doomed. We can only
The
turn
only
this into a
savior
giant
is Shane
gulag.
Hunter.
Wait, wasn't Australia founded as a giant British gulag or something?
Yeah.
That explains everything.
Well, yeah, the current state of Australia, of course.
Yeah.
The original people that were there. The Zapatista,
Who
which,
has a right
by the
hand?
way, that red star logo, that's mine. I didn't take it from the Zapatistas. I've had this channel way longer than those guys. Are you kidding?
We drew our star. That's why it's so wobbly looking.
The Zapatista says, what are your thoughts on rising tensions between the Yanks and North Korea? Well, I don't think they're rising like a whole lot. Like, they like to make the news and shit and saber rattle, but nothing's going to happen. But, I mean, I guess it's mostly because they keep developing their nuclear technology, and I think they're pretty much at the point where they can hit anywhere in the U.S., I'm guessing.
Yeah.
If they invade, and they don't want that, of course, because they want to invade North Korea again.
Yeah, that's true. And the thing with North Korea is that even if they do really want to take over the entire world, they really can't. I don't think they'll even manage a proper invasion of South Korea. Like, you can hate North Korea all you want, but even the most anti-North Korean person in the world should note that the Kim Jongs are like smart enough not to invade the South, because China will stop supporting them immediately, or China will want to get into war, and it'll just be an inevitable downfall.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they do, of course, want reunification.
Yeah, they do want reunification, but
yeah, they're not going to invade anywhere else. They're sure as fuck not going to launch nukes at the U.S. for no reason.
Yeah, and if they did, then it's a national suicide. So, well, I don't understand why they'd do it, but if they did, well, it's on them.
Yeah, but obviously they won't, because
they're not.
That's why we get inundated with all this news about this crap going on in North Korea that half of it isn't actually happening, because we're supposed to believe that he's just so crazy. He could do anything. And it's very Orientalist narrative, isn't it? It's like,
it is.
You gotta believe what our media says about these weird Koreans. Anything could happen in wacky
they took our jabs. They take our jabs.
Okay.
How they did that, we don't know.
They're taking North Korean gerbs.
Okay, now let's say we accomplish full stateless, classless, moneyless communism and space travel, and we find a planet inhabited by intelligent aliens that live in a somewhat feudal and less advanced society. Should we help them achieve temporary capitalism, or should we just go for socialism directly, assuming we would interfere in their
here we go. This is a question I really...
directive is off the table. It's...
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
This is very hypothetical, but it's interesting here, brings us up, because before a socialist stops being a socialist, they always enter this phase of pessimism and defeatism, saying, oh, if aliens found us, they would be so disappointed that we have capitalism, despite the fact we have no proof that Marxist theories of, dialectical materialism even apply to things besides humans, because, we would evolve differently and whatnot. So it is important to bring up, what this person is doing is that, okay, we run into aliens, but what if they have no concept of fully automated luxury gay space communism? What if they're space fascists or space imperialists or space British or something like that? If it was like that, then we were still in this state, we'd be screwed, just like in War of the Worlds. But if we go found them, I don't think we should impose on that, because, well, we wouldn't know how it would turn out. Like, if the alien working class decide that they like communism better than living under the space British Empire, then yeah, we should help them. But like, if they have no concept of it, cannot like, evolve accordingly to it, then I guess we're gonna have to maintain relations whether we like their system or not, or else we go into the space world war.
Yeah, but they want to know, assuming we would we help them achieve temporary capitalism? No, just go for socialism directly.
Yeah, socialism directly. Like, if we're advanced enough to do that, we would go straight to socialism. There's no point.
Yeah. Who gets on your nerves more, fascists or libertarians? Well, I guess I would say fascists. Libertarians, like, or ANCAPs, they at least have the right idea that you need to use an economic theory to completely change the way how we do things. They're at least on a normal plane.
Yeah, for me, the person that annoys me the most and gets on my nerves would be the Clintonite Democrats, actually. Like, with fascists and libertarians, I laugh at them, but Clintonite liberals, the way they think they're so progressive, but when all they do is just harp on and on about the Russia conspiracy and how it was Hillary's turn to win or something, gets annoying, especially when they're confronted with people further left than them and they have to resort to the Russia conspiracy just so they can pull a horseshoe theory on us and call us the alt-left, just as if we're somehow like the alt-right.
Yeah, I'd say libertarians get on my nerves more, mostly because I haven't met any fascists online or in real life. So it's just more of an experience thing. I mean, obviously, fascists are more just evil. So I just it's just like in general, they get on my nerves. But libertarians hold a special place for being ridiculously annoying, personally. So that's my take.
Yeah. Okay. Where were we here? Socialism. Oh yeah, this one was kind of already answered. Is socialism economically superior to capitalism? Then why do people try to leave countries with socialism to go to ones with capitalism? Yeah, because it's pretty much already been answered. But the revolutions happen in countries that were already poor, and as much as they can industrialize and equalize things, it doesn't put gold in the ground or anything. So
right. And most of these economies aren't even in the same state they were in the 20th century. So, yeah.
Plus, there's the people who just liked capitalism because they benefited from it, of course.
Yeah, pretty much. And even then, a lot of people who do leave, like in Cuba, like a lot of defectors are called like worms or something. So it's not one-sided.
Yeah. Is it a waste of effort to try to wake up the average American worker? Well,
no.
I mean, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, it just really depends how you try to wake them up. Because if you do it, only a single way, then you're just going to get probably the same result every time. You might get somebody, but not usually. Like, I don't know. On average, I mean, and it depends like what group you're talking to. Because like I find that people who are more working class than somebody, because like a lot of people I used to know were like really like petit bourgeois. So obviously they just really didn't either just care or, maybe they tuned in, but obviously it's not like they were going to do anything because, it's like, well, if the problem doesn't personally affect me, then why do I care? And why should I care?
Right.
That's kind of mentality I've grown up around. But I definitely say more just working class people are in general are more keen to socialist ideas.
Right.
Yeah, and even if you can't bring them all the way, if you can at least get creative with what kind of goal you're accomplishing, you can at least convince them that going on wars in the Middle East is a waste of your damn taxpayer dollars. That's at least achieving something, because that can make a difference for some people somewhere in the world. Like the British Labour Party, they've always been pretty right opportunists. They've never really been revolutionary in any way. But during the Russian Revolution, I believe they had some kind of solidarity strike at the docks or something like that that actually prevented the British from intervening a little bit, or that they tried to break the embargo or something. There was something like that. I forget what exactly it was, but it kind of shows you how even if you don't have a full-on revolutionary movement. You can still try to do something in your country that's going to contribute in some way to the struggle. Yeah, so
Right.
even
One- Sorry.
anti-war activism is can be useful.
Yeah, unless you're like a really super third worldist in the most literal sense of the term, then it's not going to be a waste of time. In fact, I think we need to wake up the American worker because America is currently the global hyperpower, so it can squash any communist revolution it wants to, and it has. And now there's no Soviet Union to oppose it. So I think if we cut the head off the snake, we should be good.
Yeah, I mean that's why propaganda is so important in order to create class consciousness, because you can't really have an aggressive revolution if you have passive minds.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's one thing that bothers you about the left today.
Identity politics.
Like in the poll, the whole argument about identity politics, I would say, because people keep talking about it in the abstract, like. Identity politics bad in the abstract. Like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Right. I would say one thing that annoys me about the left is sometimes it doesn't know when it wants to be disciplined or when it wants to screw around. Because I don't know if this is a personal problem with me, but like when talking to other lefties, like about joking, all of a sudden they start to act so seriously. But like when I want to focus their attention to a serious issue, they'd rather just ignore it and talk about really smaller problems or something like that. Like,
yeah.
You know, there's a big worker strike in Quebec or something like that, and that has been getting a lot of attention.
Yes, that's true.
Like when the opportunity is right there, we tend to do nothing. Like, and another thing that kind of annoys me is like how this is going to be super hypocritical on my part because I am relatively young adult, but how young the leftist is gonna kind of like scares me. But like, it's gonna be hard to get anywhere if we have to really wait that long for us to age and take power, because you know, if we don't have like older people, like older workers, older professionals, older, you know, ex-military, something like that on our side, we can't really go anywhere. And like a lot of the left right now is would rather just operate within colleges and college politics rather than try to be more direct. I mean, there have been times when we don't do that, but like some organizations are like, it's like completely college bound. And once they're done college, it's like they forgot they were a leftist in the first place. Yeah. And they'd rather focus on teacher strikes and student strikes instead of, you know, stuff for like poor students or like in non-bourgeois universities and stuff like that, or like, you know, you can't even promote like a disciplined image or some leftist. Like if I like a lot of the times during the Red Army celebration day, you have everyone like, oh, why are we celebrating an army? Like, and you can tell. I feel like they're just implicitly jealous of you know, the physique and like the strength of the Red Army and other socialist units that fought in the Cold War and then World War II, and they don't want to emulate that. They'd rather just go up and punch, which is, I know is good and all, but like we need actual training, we need actual weapons if we want to fight back. And just a last thing about this, another thing that does kind of annoy me with the left is, well, sorry, I'm just trying to. I think it slipped my mind for a second. Yeah, is that sometimes in regards to body positivity and all that, I am very much a body positive person, but like some leftists don't seem to recognize that, and they can be very hostile to people who are, you know, fit, conventionally beautiful, stuff like that, and saying they're selling out to capitalism, which doesn't make sense, because anyone in any class can look conventionally beautiful. They can look conventionally muscular, things like that. You shouldn't shame them just because they live up to the society's current standard of beauty and fitness, and just trying to bring them down. In my opinion, I feel like they're just people who are really out of shape, just imposing their personal opinions on these others and trying to use a leftist language. I mean, I do understand like why we need to stop the bullying of fat people, but like if fat people think that their struggle is somehow equivalent to, you know, racism, sexism, transphobia, homophobia, and all that, then I'm sorry, no. Plus, those movements are usually sponsored by corporations just so we can continue buying their shitty food.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe my my biggest gripes. I mean, like online, it's like, it's just really hard to argue with people, like to have like a good debate, because people usually only stick to one side. But even the people I met, in groups, when going out like to events, protests, and stuff, there's a kind of a lot of still a lot of dogmatism. I mean, like I have like a lot of anarchist and communist friends now, and they, like, obviously they're still like trying to figure out like the ideology and still learning more about it, but it just seems like they're more abrasive to any newcomers.
Yeah.
And like, especially like anybody, if they're like ex Sanders supporters and looking for something else, they're kind of more hostile to them. And sometimes it just seems like they're really just trying to shove their agendas down their throats, like being snobbish. So I mean, not being enthusiastic about like communism and anarchism. It's more like they think that because they're communists or anarchists, they're better than anybody else. And I guess another thing is, like, at least this is what I've encountered, it seems that like communists and anarchists mostly stick to subcultures. They don't really seem to branch out to mainstream culture, which I think if we're gonna get anywhere in trying to get more people to experience communism and anarchism and learn more about it, we have to get into mainstream culture, because if we just keep sticking to countercultures, is just kind of gonna stick there, for the most part. That's some of my biggest gripes, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thoughts on Democratic Socialists of America?
No idea.
I don't really see what the point is. Like, if they were like way bigger than every Marxist party in the U.S., then maybe there'd be a point. But they're not. So why bother? Like, because they're not explicitly revolutionary, are they?
I have no idea. Cannot.
No, they just try to use like power structures to somehow advance socialism by being elected to like positions of as socialists and stuff, in order to slowly regress capitalism.
Yeah.
But that's just reformist thinking, So
yeah.
it doesn't work.
So yeah, you can't be a reformist and a revolutionary. You put it this way. Thing about Democratic Socialists is you either killed Rosa Luxemburg or you love Rosa Luxemburg.
I think
there's only two kinds of people in the world.
Yeah.
You have to pick one.
We should pass gun control for social democrats before they kill all the Rosa Luxemburgs in the world.
Yeah. Mexi says congrats. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thoughts on here's a serious one. Thoughts on Rojava being armed by the West? Well, first of all, obviously it's an opportunistic kind of relationship. With the U.S., it's always been good Kurd, bad Kurd, depending on the situation, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to take their arms where they get them, but at the same time, I keep hearing things. I don't know if it's just people who are just, some people who are really like anti-imperialist in the sense that they take it to mean that you always have to be totally against anything the U.S. is doing for any reason.
Right.
Which is pretty much true. But yeah, they keep saying like they don't do anything without getting their orders from the U.S. or something like that. I think that's probably a bit of an exaggeration. The thing is, when you're getting air support, they have to tell you when they're doing air support so that when you can go in or not. But if that's going to take over your whole strategy, is you're always waiting for that, then obviously you're in a situation when you're getting played, basically, right? You're basically doing their bidding. So yeah, it's a huge problem, of course. And I don't know, only time will tell how it develops. But yeah, it's not a good development in general.
Right.
I don't know what else to say.
As for,
I mean, I'm not there. I'm not watching what's going on. I don't know anything about military strategy, but in general, yeah, it is a very alarming thing.
Yeah. As for me, I'd say that the United States, they have a very unique foreign policy of screwing over everyone. So eventually they're
Yeah.
going, so eventually once in a while America is going to screw someone over legitimately worse than them, whether it be the Confederate States, whether it be Nazi Germany, Imperial Japan, something like that. Now, granted, the intentions and outcomes are generally never pure, but no one is really going to get mad at someone worse than USA being defeated, even if USA is just doing what it always does, and that is screwing everyone over. It's like being mad at Satan because he killed Cthulhu. Like, you still hate Satan, but like you're not going to get mad at him for killing Cthulhu or something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, certainly if you look at something like the Mujahideen turning into the Taliban after time, and then they go in to fight that, and that kind of proves that
Yeah,
they don't know what they're doing when they're, or I don't know, man. I mean, like, they do know what they're doing to an extent, but they're just kind of short-sighted. I guess.
It just seems like that's sort of like a manufactured conflict, because the West is also arming ISIS through Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So, and of course, arming like all the other groups that are fighting against ISIS, whether they're radical Islamists or not. So to me, it just seems like they're just trying to play both sides.
Exactly. I guess
that's what it's all about. That's what it's always been about with the United States.
Not that they're incompetent, but that they just don't really care either way. The whole thing is they don't care about the people there anyway. So yeah. But the task of anti-imperialism is not just to stay out of it, but hands off Syria. So that means no aid. So even if we like what we're doing there, the policy should be hands off. No, don't give them anything, because we don't want us to do anything. The Brocialist Party of America.
Subtle.
What first got you into far left theory? Far left theory.
It was a fun question.
Yeah. For me, it was having to work for a boss who did the cocaine.
Oh my god!
Office while everyone else worked all day. Oh, okay.
Did you work on Wall Street?
Yeah, sounds like it.
Wow.
Damn.
You want to take it first?
I have an idea. For me, it was pretty much learning about Armenian Soviet history, which I liked, and about other far-left Armenians like Asala and things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much what kickstarted me. And also there were like these few quotes from like I think both the Bible, Quran, and Torah that were like really revolutionary sounded. So I was like, meh, if God says I should do it, then I should. He can't put me in hell because of it. Little punk he is. So yeah, it's like just to annoy all the alt-right Roosevelt people. So I'm like, I'm only following scripture. That little punk known as God can't damn me for this, and if he does, then he's a liar, little lying shit.
Yeah. I'd say how I got into socialism. It's a lot. It's a very short story, really. It's also very stereotypical too. I think it was about like either sophomore or junior year of high school, and at the time I was more or less kind of just like a delusioned liberal, I guess, in a sense, because like I didn't like Obama because of his imperialist ways and ideas, as well as just in general drone strikes and stuff like that, which really irked me. Because I was like just mostly general anti-war, and then I got into punk rock, and I started learning more about anarchism, I guess mostly through music. So I had like a really loose idea of what it was. Then I eventually like started listening and reading like Noam Chomsky, James C. Scott, and some other anarchist theorists as well as on YouTube as well. So yeah, that's just kind of how it all developed, and especially with the death of Michael Brown, and like especially like the more coverage and like police shootings and stuff like that. That also really got me into it as well, because I started learning more about how capitalism is inherently racist. So, and also with that state violence, just kind of made everything come together and make sense to me. So,
for me, I got into far left theory because I was already on the far left, because I was a social democrat and then joined. I got recruited by. I was looking to go further left, and I got recruited by a Marxist party. So,
Yeah. Which one was it again?
Socialist Action.
Okay. Yeah. I was also like a social democrat, new atheist, all that stereotypical bullshit. Almost became a brocialist when the so-called skeptics started posting anti-SJW videos, but I got out very quickly. So yeah. I still probably have some of my older comments saved somewhere on the web, but like at a certain point, like just note if it's before 2015 or something like that, then take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, me too. What do you think about the Khmer Rouge?
CIA backed.
Another thing, kind of unlisted.
Yeah, CIA backed. Stop like Commie Vietnam. That's all that's important.
Well, people call it CIA backed.
Well, they did receive a lot of training and stuff from the CIA in America.
Yeah, it's kind of more like I've actually read into it a bit. It's kind of more complicated than that. Like as if the whole thing was funded by the CIA from the start. What happened was they were kind of like a wing of the Vietnamese army, and they kind of just let them do their own thing in Cambodia, and then realized that these guys were a bunch of racist, genocidal assholes, and they're like, "Oh,
yeah, like I'm not
guys out."
Yeah, like I'm not saying it from the start. It's just that like when they started doing a lot of shit, it coincided when like America suddenly had an interest in supporting them because they hated Vietnam War.
Yeah, that's the one thing that really strikes me as how full of shit they are when they talk about their humanitarian intervention and how they should have a right to override what a country does, because here was the perfect case for humanitarian intervention. That they were carrying out fucking genocide, and all they cared about was the fact that it was Vietnam that was occupying the country. That's literally all they cared about. Is that it was Vietnam, and Vietnam was Soviet aligned. So what it was there was basically like a government in exile, where one wing of it was CIA backed, and another wing of it was the Khmer Rouge in exile. But the entire thing was one government in exile, and that entity had a seat on the UN, and they supported that. So it really shows how full of shit they are. You ever read The Conquest of Bread? No, I'd like to read it. But, you read it? Is it good?
No, I mean, it's gonna be blasphemous to say, because I call myself an anarcho-communist, but I've never read the Bread book.
Oh my God, Dan, just get off right now.
Never have. I've read quotes, so I guess that counts, and I like those. So, I mean, yeah, I like Kropotkin though. I think he's a very interesting character, because like for most of his life he's a class traitor just like I am, because he was a prince, but he donated all of his money for the anarchist cause, as well as he was also evolutionary biologist. And his book on mutual aid is very interesting, because it has more of a very scientific sort of depth to it, at least for its time, obviously. So yeah, because like it has like a good exploration like on like human nature and stuff. So I think it's fascinating. But yeah, I haven't read the Bread book.
Okay, old man Grandpa says, who are your favorite, or least despised center to far right figures?
Alex Jones. Because he's
brilliant.
just an actor, so I don't think he legitimately believes anything he says, but he's hilarious.
Oh, he
Um,
does though.
I have no idea where Bismarck would fall in under this, so probably Bismarck and any sort of monarch from the past, but I think that's cheating. Because like obviously they would be centered too far right by our standards right now.
I would say maybe the liberals in the Spanish Republic in the Popular Front.
Right.
Yeah.
And Darby Crash from the Germs. He was a quasi-fascist, but he never legitimately believed in it. So,
Oh.
but he's a very interesting dude.
What is your favorite cup size? Why is this in here? Female breast size.
All of them. Liberate the titties. Viva la revolution.
Probably out of this list, double A and double D. I like extremes.
Wow.
The smallest and the biggest.
I C and D, but like those really. I want to just say one thing. I don't know how TV shows can suddenly find it appealing to men just to like comically inflate the breast size of women. Like I know they're already making like really objectifying TV shows, but like for God's sake, if I don't get how it works. Like gigantic Zeke size cups are not gonna turn any man on. So please stop and make better bourgeois programming.
It's a cliche.
It's mostly placed to cartoons and anime, but like the cartoons and anime, like obviously not like no woman actually has that cup size in real life.
That's inflation porn. Is what it is.
Well, not inflation porn. I just mean like gag boobs, things like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
My fanatics. That's a pretty cool person. How would I go about persuading my liberal friends that capitalism must end? That would be very. For me, I think the best thing to say is, look, if you acknowledge climate change is real, which you kind of have to, I mean, it's pretty much settled. There's no way to solve climate change under a free market model. It's profitable to pollute the environment. That's like, what are you going to do? It makes them money. It makes them more money to destroy the environment. So what are you going to do? You can't do anything. It's not possible.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult for me to describe because I've been trying to convince people for a while, and I have at some point I've convinced some of my liberal friends of turning to more at least looking at it from my sort of perspective, understanding what I'm talking about. I would say it's important. For any sort of form of persuasion, if you want to be persuasive, you have to get people to trust you. So, I mean, obviously, if they're your friends, they already probably trust you, but you have to be upfront with what you believe in. Which, of course, that might sound counterintuitive to convincing them, but if you're honest with your beliefs,
yeah,
then they're more likely to be inclined to listen because that's because you're being honest, you're speaking from the heart of what you generally believe in. But to go more along with sort of the issues, because liberals, I mean, obviously, they already kind of sort of have an affinity for working class, or at least they like to think so. And of course, as Evan said, climate change is also a big agenda for liberals as well, and also anti-imperialism too, because most liberals are usually pretty anti-war, at least from what I've found. So it's definitely kind of like discuss like the topics they're familiar with, but also don't hold back when you're talking about which you believe in. You can't have that sort of restraint because you got to get them to understand that this is what you really believe in, and that this is how you think. It doesn't always work, obviously. You can't persuade everyone, but that's just kind of like the most general way I could describe it. Because convincing people is also based on personalities as well. If they're more open to ideas, then obviously they're going to listen to you. But if they want to stay the way they are, they don't like change, then they're probably not going to listen.
Yeah,
that's just kind of the facts.
Right.
Okay. Next question. Thoughts on Stalin. This is we could do a whole video on this. Shit.
Oh man, dude, can we?
Okay.
I like the part where he killed Nazis.
Do we want to do pros or cons first?
I'll just say mine because that's probably easiest for me. He did very good. He managed to industrialize the USSR and help it secure its superpower status. There is a very reasonable theory that if he was not the person in charge, another Bolshevik would have started World War II, and the Soviet Union would lose that as the world ganged up on it. So there's always the whole, bury the devil, situation with him. And he did manage to fill in the USSR with discipline after things started falling apart and it was chaotic. He managed to get everyone back on their feet and find some sort of purpose and objective. However, I do think he was very excessive with his purges. I think so many people died that, memes aside, I don't think a lot of those people deserve to die. And you have all those purges that I think they did more harm than good, honestly. So, well, except for certain purges were completely justified. I mean, you look at the power struggle of the Soviet Union, a lot of purges are justified. And, and during the war I'm more forgiving because, it's war. You have to get the country on your feet or else your entire country is going to turn into Auschwitz or Dachau. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, the mass executions, but purge. Technically, a purge is just getting rid of a lot of people in the party, which is fine. Every party member said they don't.
Yeah, I mean executions. Yeah, I mean executions, not dismissing people. Yeah.
So yeah, you went over some of it. I guess I'll start with the pros. So when we say Stalin, I mean the leadership under Stalin. I don't know what was his idea or not. It doesn't really matter. Pros are, you said industrialization, collectivization of the economy in general and agriculture that I think made them self-sufficient with food and whatnot. There was no famines after that. The biggest pro for Stalin is, invading half of Europe to liberate them from fascism. That was, I think, the best thing he ever did, or that anyone's ever done, almost, pretty much. Cons, you went over the purge. And when it comes to foreign policy, I mean, we can never know what would have happened if you did things wrong, but certainly I would hope that the Maydays in Spain could have been prevented, that they could have cooperated with CNTFAI and POUM more. Maybe they could have taken a better approach with China and the Comintern. As I understand it, Stalin was kind of surprised when they won because he was thinking they would just work with the Kuomintang forever. I don't know, or maybe that was way before that. Not sure. What else? Greece. They could have aided the Greek Civil War because that kind of just came down to the Balkans, the Balkan worker states helping them out. I think that's about it.
Well, as me being an anarchist, I have I guess a more sort of a different view. I mean, it's kind of a lot of the same criticism as well, but I just generally don't like the Soviet structure as well as just bureaucratic structures in general. I find them to be more or less oppressive by having this sort of ranked structure that they give people, in the way, and I don't want to say it's calling it another class, but that's what it seems like to me. Sort of just this sort of chain of command structure there. Again, though, that was before Stalin as well. So I don't attribute that to him. He just more or less solidified it. But then again, there was also a lot of problems with, of course, I guess the purging, making it more of a more massive police state than what Lenin did. I also think there was also a lot of questionable actions with Russian workers as well. For example, I can't remember when it was. I think it was like 1933. Or there was a strike with like cotton workers or something like that, or like at least like textile workers, and like there was a decision to be made that Stalin's troops were to be sent in and crush that strike. There's also the factor of like recriminalizing homosexuality, which, yes, I understand that those were the times, but we have to understand that this isn't that, back then, that this was not the tolerant left that we would, eventually at least try to be today. But yeah, I guess again, it's most of the criticism you guys already brought up. So, but generally, it's just solidifying the state structure of the Soviet Union is probably my big gripe.
And I just remembered Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Probably they couldn't avoid doing it, but it seems like the Comintern kind of wanted people to sort of bend over backwards to kind of, avoid pissing them off. And it's like, I don't know, maybe they could have done it different. I don't know. Why haven't you considered human nature? Good point.
Oh, you got us there.
I consider human nature every day. You kidding?
Humans are bad boys.
No, they're not, Dan. Marx is human. Argument invalid.
Marx was a bad boy.
Thoughts on market socialism? Markets, socialism, pick one.
Like, I think he's probably referring to mutualism, maybe, because which I think was what he has a Yugoslavia flair. She has whatever. They have a Yugoslavia flair, and
wait, that's a narco-Yugoslav picture.
Yeah, but they're probably referring to Tito or something. So
pick one.
I'd say Tito would be like, I think he had more of a mutualist system. They kind of had market structures and goods from the West, but they also had goods from the East, and some centralization in many parts, and things were held in common. So yeah, it's not, I wouldn't say it's ideal, but it did a good job for Yugoslavia, although I'd much prefer something more like a mixture of that, Stalin's 5-year plans to get the nation on its feet, and a degree of free prices determined by workers that was done in, let's say, goulash communism in Hungary. So a mixture of those three systems would be ideal.
Yeah, I don't really see a problem with putting money, at least initially, using money, within a socialist system, so long as all the basic needs are, free.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Yeah, and I do believe we do need to make sure we can trade. There does need to be some protectionism, but ultimately, a nation can't produce everything on its own, so it needs to trade in some certain places. Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. So yeah, mixture of mutualism, Stalin central planning, and goulash communism for consumer goods, and you're set.
Okay. What is your opinion on identity politics of the radical leftist kind? Well, that's a good kind. That is analyses of the oppression of women, queer people, and racial minorities grounded with a materialist basis.
That's good. I mean, I did a video on postmodernism months back, and the postmodernist identity politics generally doesn't believe in class struggle and just focuses on ideas. But if every idea is subjective and socially constructed, A, so what? B, what solution do you have to offer that I can't dismiss as socially constructed? So Marxist materialism shows why things like transphobia, racism happen, and why when material conditions advance, as a mixture of class struggle and struggle for these identities, these issues will go away. But we have to talk about these issues from a Marxist materialist basis and how they are related to capitalism. It's intersectional, if I'm allowed to use that word. These ideas just don't spring up from nowhere. There's no there is a patriarchy, but it's not the patriarchy itself. It's the capitalist system that produces patriarchy. So if you want to fix things like racism and transphobia and all, we have to take down capitalism and make sure we can, unite and fight for all these identities as well.
Yeah. So what is my opinion? I think you should tell all your friends about it.
I think you should like, comment, and subscribe.
Look at this.
That's common as glasses from Gurren Lagann.
Oh, there it is. It's pretty cool. Thoughts on Frankfurt School, Adorno, and postmodernists like Foucault and Derrida?
Blah. I don't like postmodernists. I just said above.
Yeah.
Who cares if it's a social construct and you don't offer any real solutions? That's my take on postmodernists. They're all just shams. They're shams.
I haven't read Adorno or the other Frankfurters yet. I'd like to eventually.
You should eat those Frankfurters. They're good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frankfurters are really interesting. I mean, like, because like I like to because like I mentioned Adorno in my Psychology of Fascism video.
Oh, right.
Or like the psychological perspectives on fascism. Because like they wrote about like the idea of the authoritarian personality, which currently, as far as I know today, there's a lot of debate within the psychological community about what counts as authoritarian personality. But a lot of psychologists agree that it is a thing, and it might have something to do with people being more akin to like conservative ideas, or at least more right wing ideas, and more just authoritarian leanings. Also, I think they're like critique like on culture, like on how capitalism like produces culture, and like things like manufactured consent, like, and of course the spectacle, a very interesting idea, which is basically like how capitalism creates its puts out its ideology through images and movies and all that sort of thing. And as for Foucault and Derrida, I'm not totally familiar with them. I mean, Foucault is pretty interesting in that he, critiques and talks about how power structures work, which is of course is always useful. But of course, some of his ideas are very problematic because again, he doesn't really identify like identity politics and stuff like that, and is usually can be seen as like anti-feminist and even like racist at some points. And as we all know, Derrida went like pretty conservative later on in life, so Derrida is just really all over the place. So that's what I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it seems like postmodernists kind of are sort of obscurantists, like they use a lot of complicated words and shit. So just,
Yeah, but I mean, again, like if you're gonna go into a philosophy, you kind of have to if you're gonna communicate with any other postmodernists. So it's just the fact of being the postmodern life, yo.
Yeah, I guess so. I think the only postmodernist I read, if you count him, is Edward Said, and well, other than the stuff on Palestine, I don't think that counts as it. But Orientalism it's a pretty good book for like making you aware of that, but it was too long. Like entire like middle part of the book, he's going over all these 19th century examples. Like, okay, dude, I get it. It's kind of boring at times, but it was interesting on the whole. Views on just Marxist-Leninism. Well,
I guess I kind of am one, so
yeah. I used to think
know.
Marxist-Leninism just meant Stalinism. But I've been it wasn't recently, but it was a while ago. I've been informed that it's not the same thing. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm still trying to understand it. I mean, like,
well, it was codified as a theory under Stalin, and it's associated with Stalin-aligned Marxism, Leninism.
But I mean, like, lots of people today on the left use it for various different meanings to sometimes describe themselves or describe others and stuff like that.
I've called
Thing is
myself
that-
Marxist-Leninist. I've called myself Marxist-Leninist on TV, on
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
community access cable.
Yeah, what was it? You're like running for like a public education.
No, it was just some debate or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you should link me to that again. Also, the thing is that like I can also sometimes call myself a trot. Sometimes I can call myself a Titoist, but like I consider, well, according to Wikipedia, Tito is a Marxist-Leninist anyway. But like I can also sometimes call myself a Maoist, things like that. But yeah, I do consider myself a Marxist-Leninist as the average for what I believe in, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
And again, like I just don't like the whole state idea. Like just like the hierarchical structure it can sometimes imply. It also doesn't go very in depth with I mean I know like recently like it changes every once in a while, but it doesn't go very in depth with like idea of like issues of race and sexism and stuff like that.
Whatever.
Okay,
Again, yeah,
socialism or
again, it's so
barbarism.
varied that it depends who you ask, obviously. But you know,
Right.
just saying from the stuff I've read.
So next.
All right, socialism or barbarism says, "Why are you not a brocialist yet? It's fun." What's so fun about it exactly?
Because
Yeah.
trolling the normies is great. Do it for Kekistan.
Troll people's just as good.
Like, I still call myself feminist and fight for LGBT rights and race and stuff. I don't agree with liberals who ignore class struggle or postmodernists who just want to impose like and say everything is a social construct, even though they're just trying to make up for their own inadequacies. But like, yeah, I do think Marxism should be pro-feminist and pro-anti-racism. So
Yeah, like,
sue
what's so
me.
fun about being a socialist and then making the same joke? Like, did you just assume my gender? Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
definitely still
the
funny.
4chan mentality is what it is.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
and like it's easy to go from brocialist to like alt-right, from what I know.
And like ironically, you know, like a lot of people who describe themselves as brocialists are like trying to do it because they're trying not to be a sectarian, but it's the most sectarian you could possibly be if you're just kind of shitting on everybody else.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would want to.
Yeah,
Very strange.
they're just as sectarian as the liberals and postmoderns they claim to fight. So yeah.
Pretty much. It's not fun being a hypocrite.
Okay. Our friend the Libyan says, thoughts on Pan-Arabism? Kind of depends, I guess. It's just
I
kind
mean,
of
I'm not terribly familiar with the
movement.
Yeah.
I mean, nationalism in general is a complicated question because, you know, there's like you go with Lenin and, you know, we allow for self-determination of people that should be respected, or Rosa is even more restrictive. Like, don't even bother with it.
Yeah, I'm not the Luxembourgist, so yeah.
But the way I see it, like, you know, there's progressive nationalisms sometimes when it's
like in
and
Cuba.
oppressed people that are fighting whose national liberation is necessarily going to be anti-colonialist or anti-imperialist. So
Yeah, and the thing is that their nationalism doesn't mean we should go dominate the other countries and conquer them. It means we need to, you know, protect ourselves and like not at the expense of anyone else. And we should in fact help other people achieve the same goals. So,
and you should always be critical of it and be, you know, reassessing it, because obviously, you know, Zionism was a movement of self-determination for people, and you know, look how that turned out.
As for Pan-Arabism, it's like
I don't know.
the thing with Arabs is that like each country is very distinct. So, but what really unifies them is the Arabic culture that was, I think, brought along by. I think it ties along with Islam, but you know, lots of Arabs are Christians, Jewish, atheists, and like that. So Islam doesn't play a huge role into it. But like, you know, I guess I could maybe see it working a bit. Although, ironically, Pan-Arabism is popular in countries where the like the Lebanese, the Egyptians aren't actual literal ethnic Arabs. Literal ethnic Arabs are all in the Gulf, and Pan-Arabism isn't really a thing there.
Yeah, Arab it seems like it's kind of a there's like literal Arab being on the peninsula, but then there's kind of
like I mean,
the Middle East.
Lebanese people are Phoenicians, Iraqis and Syrians are Akkadians, Assyrians, things like that. Egyptians are
even
Copts.
Moroccans and Libyans call themselves Arab in a way, don't they? Like,
yeah, but like that's like the culture. But like if we're talking about ethnic history, it's like you go way back, and
it is really.
I will say Pan-Arabism makes more sense than Pan-Africanism. Like, I don't know why. I think Gaddafi was a proponent of it, but I don't know why, because like North Africa has like nothing in common with the rest of Africa. Almost, it's like they would much rather be with the other Arabs. So, yeah, that's why we'll never get behind Pan-Africanism. The fucking North doesn't want to do it. So yeah,
seems like it's a better idea than the way things are now. And there's a civil war in Syria and insurgencies all over the place.
I wish Nasser lived for much longer. The Middle East would be a better place. Not because I'm invoking great man theory, but because, by Nasser, I generally just mean his ideas, his party, things like that. Because like you have to be realistic. Like people can be symbols, especially if they lead a political movement.
Yeah, I mean that's just always kind of the result. I mean, like I obviously don't. I'm obviously against nationalism, but if it's to get rid of an oppressor, then I guess so be it. I mean, I find it sort of ironic here that, you have people who call themselves anti-colonialists, but they're also pacifists.
Yeah.
It's like you can't be. That's not the. You can't. You're not gonna make that happen. Stop trying to make that happen.
Okay, are you organized? No, I'm pretty disorganized.
I'm organized. Clean up my room, organize my desk and stuff. Like any papers I've lying around, it's because I need them for later. But yeah,
not sure if that's what they actually meant.
I think they mean organized in a party, but like, I guess I kind of am. But whatever.
I'm sort of all over the place. I mean, I'm involved with a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe. Like sometimes I go to IWW meetings. Sometimes I go, with the Green Party. I go all over the place.
What are some ways to bring back the USSR, or at least some socialist states?
Communist revolution in those states. That's literally the answer, but it can't happen for a while right now because capitalism currently has a monopoly, much more than it did.
Expecting.
Yeah.
You go vote for the Communist Party?
Next. Teal Deer.
Shit, I didn't see this one.
Teal Deer. Move on.
Okay, hang on. Let's see if there's.
Don't have much
answer
time.
The rest of them first.
I don't have much time personally.
What do you think is the best tactic for radicalizing people in the first world? I don't know.
We said it above.
Talking about liberals and stuff.
Yeah, we talked about this.
And again, I think what we should really focus on right now is propaganda. Like, of course, fighting is always very important, but if you really want to get lots of people to be part of the socialist, have class consciousness, you have to be part of like the mainstream, because that's the only way we're gonna get there.
Okay, fuck, marry, kill Castro, Stalin, and Pol Pot. Well, kill Pol Pot.
Kill Pol Pot.
Kill Pol Pot, marry Stalin, fuck Castro.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I do marry Castro and fuck Stalin.
Young Stalin. Yeah,
that's what I mean. That's always what we're thinking of.
Yeah.
Drove me to support communism. I think we've kind of been.
Yeah, we did that. We did that.
It's just waiting for the next mode of production as reasonable as a revolution. No. I'm kidding. Is the growing right-wing nationalist bloc with fascism just as well be a next mode of production? No. Fascism is not a mode of production.
It's just capitalism.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Next.
Veganism socialist in nature? No. Do you consider it a liberal lifestyle like other leftists?
No.
It could be a liberal lifestyle if you make it.
I mean,
like that.
I'm vegetarian, so it doesn't really cross. I mean, it sometimes does, speciesism and stuff like that.
I've seen leftist right wingers and liberals that say their reasons for veganism, vegetarianism. You have the macho far right guys who go vegan. You have the leftist animal liberationists who go vegan. Liberals because they think there is somehow ethical consumption under capitalism. But veganism is I think veganism can be very apolitical. So, but you can make it political, and if you are going to make it political, make it a left wing political, and I will applaud you for that. So yeah,
like me.
Yay! I'm applauding you, Dan. And
veganism is the opiate of the masses.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sorry.
No, it's good.
You can clap on mic.
Capitalism.
Attempt at ethical consumption. Do you agree? Yeah. If they're doing it for that reason, then yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So how can a lack of consumption fall under this argument? It's the
You
same
consume
as-
less, you die, literally.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Okay, next.
What are your opinions on the Nordic model? It's
Capitalist.
social democrat, social
Capitalist,
democracy.
next.
So market socialism.
We did
said
that.
How should we best handle inane smears like SJW, regressive cultural Marxism, and other right-wing buzzwords? Ignore them or debunk them.
We've done
Yeah,
some videos debunking them, but in every argument, just ignore them.
Yeah, take the high road.
Yeah.
Or just point out that it's a buzzword. You're like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I don't know what that is. I don't know what a SJW is. Regressive doesn't make sense. Cultural Marxism isn't real.
Right.
As a leftist community, we should be working together. Okay. Where do you stand on the death penalty? Generally
Pirate
against it.
squads for only in times of war when you've kidnapped the enemy and you need to assassinate them, but otherwise I would just keep them locked up forever and make them do work.
I mean, from what I've learned so far, as I'm studying psychology, is that it's if you with enough time you can get people to act, behave any way you want them to. So I definitely think, obviously, say a fascist, right? If you want remove them from society, that's fine. But you can also try getting them to behave differently, think differently, in order to, I guess, be a bigger contributor to society or behave the way you want them to in society. So, I mean, I guess if that doesn't work, sure, kill them, I guess. But it's it just really depends. I guess, but I mean, personally, obviously, the first and foremost would be kind of just reform their behavior.
Yeah, just put them in a work camp, make them do something useful. It's between that and just
I like the Nordic prison model. I think I think that's probably the best alternative right now.
Okay,
Right.
Grandma says she got a copy of Capital. Should she read it or just leave it on the table for when she brings chicks home?
Both.
Well, yeah, you can do both. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Both.
it's a hard book.
He answered that. Human nature already had
Stalin
one.
did that.
Read the comments before you comment, for fuck's sake. Stalin already said that.
Human nature, we did that.
Favorite commie, Lenin. Least favorite, Ceausescu.
I'll agree with that on that, just because I can't consider.
Oh, I like this one. What are your thoughts on the Irish Republican Army?
I don't know too much about them to comment, but I do support, republicanism for
Is that what it was?
Ireland.
I like them in the 1920s and 30s.
Nah, I would go later than that.
Yeah, I know, but it just depends which IRA you're talking about because there's six of them.
Splitter.
Well, if they're saying the IRA, then yeah, that's early 20th century.
Yeah, the socialist one. I like that one.
Yeah.
I don't like the terrorist one where they kill innocent people. That's not. I'm not a fan of that.
Well, some of the later ones were socialist ones too, though.
I mean, yeah, but again, that's kind of
Yeah.
it's hypocritical, just to kill civilians, for a socialist cause. It doesn't make sense.
How key do you think? Oh, okay. How key do you think scientific research and technological advancement are to the historical trend described by Marx? Do you think The increased efficiency due to the application of the more advanced technology leads to a materialism-driven change in government and progress to the next stage in the trend, or do you think the changes mainly come about as a result of cultural change or idealism? Oh my God, what is
Speaking of obscurantism,
Keep your questions simple, guys.
yeah.
Should I try to even understand what the question is?
I don't know.
How key do you think? Science is key. Okay, to the historical trend described by Marx. Yeah, it's definitely key. Yes.
The thing is just generally talk about just how like technological progress would change in a Marxist society. Like how would Marxism change along with like technology?
Right.
That's what I think it is.
Okay, changes do not come as a result of cultural change or idealism. I would say no to that, because that's not a materialist way of looking at things. But I don't know what else they're asking.
Right.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's such a question that like it'd be so far flung in the future. It'd be really hard to describe how it would work out. I don't know. I guess I would say maybe the working class would be better connected. That's what I think.
So yeah, the raw are good for like even going into the 60s and the Troubles, I would say so. Because they had a good cause and they were fighting for it. But yeah, as time went on, there is more of a disconnect between the violence and the goals that they were achieving. So
yeah.
By the time of the Good Friday Agreement, by then they were really adventurous, right? With like the Omagh bombings. And now it's like just a few gangs that go around bombing police cars every once in a while. So
yeah.
Vote Sinn Féin.
Next.
Sinn Féin, yeah.
Sinn Féin. Irish is hard.
Are you a member of any political No, I don't know any political organizations.
I mean, I'm part of the Green Party.
I think I've answered that before. Are people who eat pineapple on pizza Nazi? Well, almost. It's even worse, really.
Not quite.
Who's better, Pingu or Squidward? I don't know.
SpongeBob, we gotta organize the workers.
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. We met the voice.
I like to exploit my workers. Gulag Nazbols. Should not Gulag Nazbols. Should there be a new Communist Party? No, there's enough.
There's a lot of them.
Thoughts on the Finnish
the
Revolution?
CPUSA is just full of liberals and CIA agents.
1918. Well, it would have been nice if they won. I don't know what else to say. Not a lot of people know about that. Do you think North Korea depends on the American presence in South Korea so that China doesn't invade North Korea? Not really. I don't know why they would do that anyways. Thoughts on Corbyn? Yeah, I would like it if he won. It would be. I mean, he's causing like a lot of political polarization in the UK on issues that are actually pretty decent. On austerity and getting out of NATO. Even I think that's one of his policy platforms, right? Like, yeah. It would be nice. Certainly would be much better than the fucking Tories and all those other guys.
Oh yeah,
all those other people.
I think they're gonna win again.
It's worth voting for him, even if you're usually pretty skeptical of that.
Yeah,
definitely be worth voting for him. You think Pol Pot was the greatest and prim revolutionary ever? I guess so. He's made it. He's made it a lot farther than Derek Jensen ever has. So
true. You got a plan for that. But just generally don't applaud Pol Pot. That's usually not a good idea.
Yeah.
No.
Do you think that the more you make Q&A, the more revolution is spreading? Yep. Definitely.
We like to think so. Yeah.
It clears up confusion for like anti-communists, so that's usually good.
Yeah. It's kind of the whole point of our channel, really.
Right.
Oh yeah, Pol Pot did absolutely nothing wrong. So says social.
Fuck you.
What's a killing field?
Yeah. What is the role of police? Protect private property and the bourgeoisie. When private property is abolished, how do co-ops or whatever protect their business?
With, you know, the same way the Soviet Union did.
Yeah.
Like, if the police, like new police under socialism, will have the primary goal of defending the revolution, not trying to stop it like they do currently. So
Yeah.
when we talk about police, we talk about capitalist police. So yeah, that's why you still have Marxist Leninists saying all cops are bastards, even though, you know, they're not going to say the same thing about, you know, the Volkspolizei in East Germany. So yeah, although maybe that's not the best example, but whatever.
But I mean, it's also like the fact who are we protecting from? Because like, if there is an issue of crime within a social society, and that's a bigger issue overall.
Yeah, I would say it's for, like, you know, like there's still going to be people who are going to be fascists, Islamists, those weird Christian cults, doomsday things, and they're always going to be plotting something regardless of the material conditions. They don't need to be poor to be, you know, jackasses. And, you know, we still have murderers, rapists, and all that stuff. So
True. And plus, you know, arm the proletariat, because like,
Yeah.
like I guess an
I
arm.
think
I
at
guess,
least
I guess
a
it's kind of
militia.
like using it to use a right wing term. An armed society is a polite society.
right,
So
yeah.
yeah,
What
but, you know, I
would
mean, I guess
Venezuela-
I'd see it as like something like Catalonia, as like militias would be a way to do that. But again, if everybody's armed, then it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
rate a business.
What would Venezuela need to do to fend off and ultimately defeat the opposition funded by imperialists? Well, they need to expropriate the capitalist class now. And they already have support of the army, so there's not much else they can do.
Yeah, to do a coup, you need to have the army and the media, I think. The opposition has neither, so yeah.
Yeah, so just do it. Seize the means of production. They need to do it yesterday. Talk about yesterday.
Yeah.
What do you think of Nicaragua?
No idea.
I don't really know that much about it today.
Would have been nice if they beat the Contras.
Oh, yeah.
Today, technically, the Sandinistas are in power again, but I think they're more
Yeah.
like reformists.
Let's just ask the next question, because after this I gotta go.
All right.
All right, and let's overthrow the Tumblr bourgeoisie. I don't know what Tumblr is. Okay.
And just ignore Tumblr or 4chan. Your life will be better with.
What do you think of the NDP
Not either,
leadership candidates? I support Nikki Ashton. I supported her last time.
Same.
I met her once.
All right. Oh, just one more thing. I see a question down there. Have you played Kaiserreich? Yes, and I would recommend all leftists play Kaiserreich because it's an alternate history where Germany wins World War One, but France and England undergo anarcho-syndicalist revolutions. And if you want a proper depiction of syndicalism and how it would work, playing as those two countries are awesome. Or you could play as the alternate Oswald Mosley, George Orwell, and C.S. Lewis, who in this timeline are suddenly Marxist-Leninists and just establish direct rule from London and find the United Socialist States of America, the USSA, after you win the Second American Civil War in the game. Really, it should be mandatory leftist playing. But you
That's
have to
fun.
choose the leftist spot. You have to choose the leftist path.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
guys.
By the way, if feel free to message us about any game recommendations of like sort of I guess really anything, because I've been looking for stuff
Yeah.
to play for a while,
Yeah.
especially more Marxist and I guess just left leaning stuff.
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker is also pretty good. We just got a question on Nicaragua, and you do fight with the Sandinistas in that. So yeah.
Huh.
As for me, I'm gonna have to bail. So you guys can just finish up, or unless you guys want to bail now, right here.
Yeah, I probably should have.
All right. TTYL, CL.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
How will you feel when you're living in socialist republics of North Korea and America? Might be fun.
I mean, I don't know.
Some joining
Depends.
revisionist parties and trying to reform them. Well, you have to evaluate how big each party is, and
Yeah, but I think CPUSA is a raw apple to the core. there's no going back from that.
yeah. Thoughts on left communism? It's basically just anarchism. Like, I don't get what the point is.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with this, so I can't comment. I don't know. It's okay.
Do you support Donetsk People's Republic? I would say so. Yeah, I support them against the Kiev regime. I would say.
Yeah, oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, they're
that's
pretty working class friendly overall. I know, like
Yeah.
like I've heard like they had like parades on like supporting like working class people, like
Yeah.
yeah, it's like parades for janitors and teachers and doctors, all that sort of thing. It's pretty cool.
views on DeLeonism.
We
Well,
made a
it's
video
not
on that.
really what.
We made a video on that.
Yeah. But like
Yeah.
views on it. I would say
Oh.
it's not insurrectionary enough because they kind of focus on elections, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of antiquated.
Opinions on the Wobblies are pretty cool.
Yeah, I know actually quite a few Wobblies. They're awesome people. I highly recommend checking them out.
Red Union is better than normal Union, so
Yeah, that's true. And at least the ones I know, they kind of just mostly talk a lot. They have conversations, but
Yeah.
it's usually pretty interesting.
What are the
So
limits of solidarity? I don't.
there are no
What would-
limits.
What would that even? I don't get it.
There's no limits.
What did Trotsky do to betray the USSR? I don't know.
Just
I
didn't like
haven't read
Stalin.
about that yet.
He didn't dislike the USSR. Just didn't like Stalin.
Well, the accusation is that he collaborated with fascists, or. Well, I mean, there was the Dies Commission, so I guess that's probably a big one.
Hmm.
Thoughts on Hungarian SR? Yeah, it would have been cool if they won. That's the second question about a non-Russian revolution that came about during the Great War. Interesting.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get one about the Spartacus? No, probably not. Thoughts on Tito-Stalin relationship? I don't
But
know
it was
about
pretty heated, wasn't it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Stalin sent assassins to try to kill him.
Holy shit, dude. Crazy.
And he famously sent him a letter back saying, "Stop sending assassins, or I'll send one to you, and I won't have to send another."
Oh my god.
I love that.
Man.
Or thoughts simply on Tito while we answer that. The other one, I think. What's the intro song? Gotta Go by Agnostic Front. Thoughts on Grigory Romanov? I had to look this up. I thought he was like one of the Romanovs. I was like, well, they killed him. What do you know?
Yeah.
No, he's he was like a leader of CPSU like in the 80s. So the thing is, I guess that he was second to Gorbachev. Like he could have been the general secretary. And I guess the implication with that is that he could have saved the Soviet Union from collapse, which is possible. I mean,
I don't like all by himself though. That seems I'm skeptical about that.
Well, because a lot of it came down to Gorbachev's, perestroika and stuff like that. But yeah, ultimately, it probably would have dissolved eventually if they didn't think of a better fix for the economy. So
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right.
He's only one guy.
Great man of history. Whereas
Yeah.
Maoist Hojas, I just missed him. He sent the other comment. Do you like George Orwell? So
Yeah. He's kind of the one who got me interested in leftism actually quite a bit. I mean, again, like when I started listening to punk rock, I mean, yeah, that leaned me more towards that. But I read George Orwell in like 8th grade, and it changed me a lot. So I really do enjoy him a lot. I mean, I guess as a person though, like I like his writing. I guess as a person though, he's
yeah, right. It's
we
pretty good.
screwed over comrades in Britain, so I don't like him for that. But I guess
I
the
mean,
time
he
before
was-
that I did.
He was too anti-Soviet, though. He just really had a grudge. I guess I can't blame him. The fact that he went to joining the Independent Labor Party was apparently his only ticket into Spain, so that got him into the POUM, and that got him like almost killed by the Communist Party of Spain. So I think that's where the grudge comes from.
Yeah.
So I can see why he felt that way, but he took it too far.
It been made a bit personal.
Yeah. Okay, you want to answer this or read this long ass question?
Sure, I'll read it. Why not? All right.
Okay.
Can you go up a bit?
Oh, you want to read it? Okay.
I'll read it. During your guys' reaction to the China Uncensored Communist History video, you guys essentially said that the reason that communism hasn't worked yet is because capitalist society destroyed it. Parentheses, you guys went into more detail. I'm just trying to give more context to my question. My question is, how is this a viable argument? Your other arguments are either backed up or suggested by different information than what is considered correct by Western society. You guys seem to have a healthy skepticism of a narrative, rather than the skepticism of extreme conspiracy theorists. What I mean by a viable argument is if it really should be considered. On one hand, yes, capitalism tore down communist society, but on the other hand, communism attempting to do the same with capitalist society. If both sides were doing all they could to destroy the other, why should the loser use this argument?
What?
If it were the other way around, I'm sure you guys would be asking the same question to the capitalists who blame communists for the fall of their economic model.
Yeah, and I would say, yeah, you're right. We did. Like, what?
Also, to answer why people generally don't go after the French Revolution as hard as the Paris Commune, it's twofold with a possible extension. One, since the French Revolution is considered a turning point toward democracy and liberalism, many consider what was lost as sort of price for progress. Two, generally the French Revolution was less brutal to cultural works than the Paris Commune, as seen with the Palace of in Versailles and the works that were collected there. The extension I wanted to bring up was the fact that in the countryside, most people were still conservative, and so destroying cultural works devoted to people they saw as a rightly ruling class was probably looked down upon by them. Completely limiting everything upper class without the people on your side could create a massive backlash very quickly, so the works are confiscated rather than destroyed. I hope my question gets chosen. Thanks for reading all this if you do.
Okay, so
yeah, that was long-winded.
Well, the stuff about France wasn't really a question.
Yeah, it was just more like an opinion.
I don't get what the fuck they're saying. Like, if it were the other way around, you guys would be asking the same question to the capitalists. If communism beat capitalism, we asked them why it failed. We wouldn't. We would blame. Capitalists would blame communists for the fall. Yeah, and I would say, yeah, you're right. We did it on purpose. Like, I don't get what this person is trying to say.
Is he maybe talking about how like capitalist countries, attack communist countries, and then like capitalists say, oh, well, it's not because of us, it's because communism failed, and then it'd be the other way around. It'd be like since we're the ones who are attacking capitalist societies, then we'd say, oh, well, that's only because capitalism failed. It fell on its own. It had nothing to do with communism attacking. But honestly, the whole point of being a communist is to attack capitalist society. That's why we're communists. That's the position we're taking.
I don't know what communist like. This is assuming communism, like communist countries, would ever be in a position to actually do that. I'm not sure what they would do. Well, I guess it would be possible, but yeah, we would admit that we're doing that. Like, of course we would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, that's all the comments.
Okay. Ray, how many people got in our live chat?
39.
39. That's still quite a bit. See what they said.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Half the time they're just arguing with each other.
Yeah, that's usually what it boils down to.
What have these people done to you when a revolution should happen naturally? There's
a lot of spookiness going on.
Yeah.
A lot of spoopy. Spoopity doopity.
You want to do another collab? Yeah, sure, why not? Socialism or barbarism.
Sweet. That was fun last time. Just don't post those pictures again.
that was
traumatized my life.
That was Toja that did that.
I couldn't speak to anybody for 2 days because I just couldn't unsee it. I had to bleach my eyes to fix it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm blind now, but hey, at least I don't have
what
to
do you
see it again.
think about patriotism and communism? Well, socialist patriotism was a thing. It means like being like loyal to specifically a socialist country and the socialist character of the country. So that's okay. Did you look at the chat? I'm looking at it right now, buddy.